What if inflation wasn't a natural part of the economy, but a hidden mechanism deliberately engineered to transfer wealth upward? Every time prices rise, the headlines blame global events, supply chains, or market forces. But behind the curtain lies something much darker, a mathematical formula that quietly converts your savings into someone else's profits. And here's the chilling truth: this system doesn't malfunction, it works exactly as designed. To understand the dark equation, we need to rewind not just decades, but centuries to when money first detached from value itself. Once upon a time, money represented something tangible: gold, silver, or real goods. Governments couldn't print wealth out of thin air because every coin minted had to be backed by something real. But over time, the keepers of finance, central banks, treasury officials, and private financiers discovered something extraordinary. If you control the supply of money, you control the behavior of nations. They found that by manipulating inflation, that invisible rise in prices, they could create the illusion of prosperity while quietly harvesting wealth from the masses. This wasn't chaos, this was design. Our story truly begins in 1913 with the creation of the Federal Reserve System in the United States. Officially, it was established to stabilize the economy. But behind closed doors, it handed a small group of private bankers the authority to issue and control the nation's money supply. They could now print money through debt and lend it back to the government with interest. The more money in circulation, the more debt existed, and the more the value of existing money eroded. Inflation wasn't a side effect. It became a tool. After World War I, central banks across Europe adopted similar systems. The gold standard, that final anchor to reality, was slowly dismantled. Money became paper, and later, just numbers. By 1971, when President Nixon ended the convertibility of the dollar into gold, money officially became an idea, something created at will by governments and banks. And once money could be created from nothing, inflation could be created on purpose. The post-World War II era saw something extraordinary. Western nations experienced massive growth, new homes, new industries, new dreams. But the real engine behind this prosperity wasn't productivity, it was credit expansion. Banks learned that by lending more money than they actually had, a system called fractional reserve banking, they could multiply profits without producing anything real. Governments loved it because inflation reduced the real value of their debt. Corporations loved it because rising prices made their assets appear more valuable. And the wealthy loved it because they owned the things that inflation rewards: stocks, land, and real estate. Meanwhile, the middle class, whose income lagged behind price increases, unknowingly financed this entire system through their shrinking purchasing power. The dark equation was simple. Inflation equals asset gains for the few plus wage erosion for the many. Every dollar printed was a quiet tax, not voted on, not debated, but paid by every person holding cash or working for a fixed salary. By the late 1970s, inflation had spiraled out of control. Oil shocks, global uncertainty, and decades of cheap money collided. Governments blamed external factors, but insiders knew this was the cost of their own creation. To fix the problem, central banks raised interest rates dramatically, triggering recessions and unemployment. Ordinary families suffered, while the ultra-wealthy, who had already converted cash into hard assets, simply waited for the storm to pass. Then, in the 1980s, a new era began, the age of financialization. Instead of producing goods, economies began producing debt. Corporations realized they could make more money manipulating assets than creating products. Governments discovered that controlled inflation, just enough to make debt cheaper, but not enough to spark panic, could keep the illusion of growth alive indefinitely. The dark equation evolved. Create inflation gives inflate asset prices, gives let wages lag, gives borrow to survive, gives repeat. Fast forward to the 2008 financial crisis. The system that was supposed to stabilize the economy revealed its true nature. Trillions were created overnight to save banks, not people. Inflation didn't show up immediately in consumer goods, but in assets. Stock markets soared, real estate boomed, but the cost of living followed, quietly and relentlessly. Those who owned assets became richer than ever. Those who didn't fell further behind. And then came the pandemic era, the largest money creation event in human history. Over $30 trillion was injected into global economies in less than 2 years. The result, inflation surged to record highs. Food prices skyrocketed. Housing became unreachable. And once again, the wealth of billionaires doubled while the middle class was hollowed out. The dark equation had reached perfection. Today, central banks claim to fight inflation by raising interest rates. But here's the paradox. The higher the rates go, the more governments must borrow to pay their own debts. To finance that debt, more money eventually gets created. And so, the solution feeds the problem. Meanwhile, ordinary citizens are told to tighten their belts, cut back, and be patient. But the math never lies. When prices rise faster than wages, your time and labor lose value, while the owners of capital see their wealth multiply. Inflation isn't random, it's a wealth extraction algorithm. Today, as nations drown in record debt, over $310 trillion globally, the same cycle continues. Governments print to cover deficits. Corporations raise prices to adjust. Central banks react, not correct, and at every turn, the same group profits. Asset holders, debt issuers, policy architects who know how to ride the wave, the irony. Inflation is sold as a cost of progress, when in truth, it's the price of control. Because when your money loses value faster than you can earn it, you become permanently dependent on credit, on systems, on those who designed them. 1. Inflation is not accidental, it's systemic. It's how modern economies sustain endless debt while pretending to grow. 2. Real wealth is always in assets, not currency. Those who hold tangible value, land, commodities, productive businesses, benefit from inflation. Everyone else pays for it. 3. The game rewards those who understand the equation. Once you see inflation as a mechanism of transfer, you stop playing by their rules and start protecting your own future. The dark equation thrives on ignorance. As long as people believe inflation is just bad luck, the system remains unchallenged. But history shows what happens when illusions break. Every empire that debased its currency eventually collapsed, not because it ran out of gold, but because it ran out of trust. So ask yourself, when your money buys less each year, who's gaining what you've lost? Understanding this isn't conspiracy, it's survival. Because once you see how inflation turns into profit for the few, you can finally stop being the fuel for their fire. If you found this breakdown eye-opening, share it not for the algorithm, but for awareness. The next crisis is already being written, and this time you'll recognize the pattern. Subscribe for more hidden truths about money, power, and the systems built to control them.